start off really, whereabouts is Thor's head at the start of the film, and how have the effects of the Avengers affected him?
We've seen some characters come off Avengers pretty heavily traumatized by events there. Tony Stark, has afflictions coming off those events. I think Thor actually is a warrior, and he kind of took it more in stride. I mean, at the beginning of our film, he's kind of doing the job he was born to do, and his heart is not entirely in it, but he's doing what he knows he has to do. And his future seems to be stretching ahead of him on a pretty straight line at the beginning of our movie. And then by the end of it, we realize it's veered off in a surprising direction, I think. But at the beginning, I think he was raised to handle stuff like this. He's tough. He's a god.
He's godlike. And so there was a scene that you shown at Comic-Con, or there was a clip at Comic-Con, the bit where his hand gets chopped off.
Yes. Right.
Well, I mean, that must be quite a tactical thing for the filmmakers and the marketers to do, to provoke that sort of level of speculation. I mean...
To reveal that? Well,
to reveal that early. What was the decision behind that?
Well, I don't think you've seen that much in the main ad campaign, the main marketing
never
campaign.
In the popular
but
stuff.
When you go to Comic-Con, it's a very particular audience, and I think they can handle things like that. And we wanted them to speculate about that, and it was just an awesome way to end the piece. So we didn't want to not end it like that.
Yeah, we got a wonderful reaction.
Yeah.
And I remember when that idea first percolated up in our process, I was really excited about it. And then there was I remember this moment of trepidation where we brought it to you to see if you would go for it or not. And you sort of commented on the whole thing we were doing, and you said, but what I really love, and was that moment, and we
had to do it. And what's great about it in the context of that Comic-Con piece is I think what's great about it in the context of the film itself is you can never quite tell what Loki's going to do. And in that Comic-Con piece showed that he was asking for help, shows that he was going to team up. Oh, he's going to be a good guy this time. Maybe not.
As the director, when you're looking at Loki and sort of reading him, do you see him as the villain, or do you have to sort of direct him as like the anti-hero, or like how...
I mean, in some ways he's my ideal villain because he's so layered and well motivated, and Chris Eccleston, I think, was the one who was saying, no villain thinks of themselves as a villain. They all think of themselves as a hero in the story that they're living, and that's particularly true of Loki. He's a little bit of a narcissist. He sees everything from his point of view, and so he's a wonderful three-dimensional character with a deep psychology. And I also like something Tom said about the character, where if the question is, can he be redeemed, and how villainous is he? And Tom said, well, if you dig down deep enough in Loki, you get to the part that's good, and if you keep digging, you get to the bad part again. And if you keep digging, and you never get down to the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think just as the God of Mischief, I think if you just remember that, I mean, he's not like Marvel's Joker. He's like, the parallels are almost there because he becomes so big in the DC world. But for Loki, that whole mischief element at the centre, I think if you can understand that, then everything else sort of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's got things in common with Joker in that they both thrive in chaos, but he's got a real deep family connection that matters to him and means things to him. So he's not quite the sort of nihilist that the Joker is.
Obviously, there's a cameo from Captain America, which is a brilliant moment in the film. Was it always going to be Captain America? Was it a spur of the moment thing, or?
I wouldn't call it a spur of the moment thing, but it was something that we wanted to see more of Loki's playfulness. We wanted to see more of his sort of instantly screwing with Thor the minute he is let out of the dungeon.
And also the sheer exuberance of being out of the dungeon. So
yes.
Here's a guy who has so much energy, he's been penned in, and to sort of see him be him.
And reminding the audience of his powers, of his illusion powers, which we had seen a little bit in his cell. But, going back to the original mythology, he's a shapeshifter. And we wanted to remind the audience of that in a fun way. And we were very lucky that Chris Evans agreed to do it. He was shooting The Winter Soldier literally down the street at the time and came by and did that for us.
And the fun thing about the process was that Tom played that moment in uniform, in the Captain America uniform, and sort of did a performance imitating Chris Evans' version of Captain America, so then Chris could come in and imitate Tom's imitation of his...
So somewhere there's footage of Tom in the Captain America uniform?
There is, and if people buy a Blu-ray that will be coming out in the next few months, they may be able to see it.
Were there any other cameos that you wanted to make happen but couldn't?
I remember at one point somebody was talking about the Hulk being involved in that, and it was like, well, this is too much.
Right, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, just the idea of shape shifting.
He'd turn into the Hulk at one point.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
And knowing what's enough and what's too much.
Obviously now there's quite an intense moment with Thor's mother. Now, how does that sort of affect Thor and his sort of a situation going forward with Loki? Because it almost binds them together in a way.
I think we know how it affects Thor because he's a fairly well-adjusted young man. But what it really helps us with is it makes it believable, I think, that those two would team up, because very few things would give us enough reason to believe that Loki, could be trusted. And that's one of the few things that might make us and Thor think that this could change this character.
Now, the mid-credit sequence gives us a glimpse of Benicio del Toro as the Collector. Now, you didn't have anything to do with the...
No, that's there's always a lot of discussion as to what that was going to be, what those things were going to turn out to be, and there were some other suggestions. It's in this case, it's very much about connecting to the grander Marvel universe. And I think at that point, I was mixing in LA. This had to be shot on the sets that were still standing in London. Right. So, and I didn't even. Did James direct?
Yeah, James Gunn directed that on the Guardian set. And the best of our tags, of which I think this really is one, ties up the loose end from the movie you've just watched. And in this case, spoiler alert, it's a Volstagg and Sif turning over the ether into what they believe to be safe hands. And it's also, yes, setting up a character from an upcoming film. In the same way, many people didn't know who the heck Nick Fury was when he popped up at the end of Iron Man, but a lot of people knew who Sam Jackson was. They could go, what is Sam Jackson doing here in an eye patch? And wanting to learn more about it, and that's really where the Avengers initiative started and discussion started. Likewise, we don't expect many people to know that, that's the Collector. He plays a part in Guardians of the Galaxy. But we do expect people to go, is that Benicio del Toro? What is he doing? What is going on? And seek out information that will lead them to Guardians.
And from the very small amount that we saw him on screen, it looks like it's going to be a very interesting performance. It is from him.
I think you can always expect that from Benicio, but particularly when you put him into the persona of a 100,000-year-old being in the center of the galaxy.
And how does Thanos fit into all that?
I won't say much other than say he fits into it, and that his many lieutenants around the galaxy fit into it as well.
And people should stick around for a post-credit tag as well, right?
I'm hoping they do, because once they get to that mid-credit thing, they might think they're check that and they're done. But no, there's something at the end of our very long credits which I find very charming. The final shot is something I really like. That's sort of the right energy burst to send the movie off. It's a creature that's still trapped on Earth from Jotunheim that's chasing Earth creatures.